Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back to Werewolf the Apocalypse Book of Hungry Names. Already have a a recap in the chat. Thank you so much, Jerry. You're the best. Yes. Yesterday, very frustratingly, we attempted to take down Daphne Clear, who is either willingly or unwillingly working with both the Answering Tiger and the Black Spiral Dancer Eater of Names. And you know what? Even if it's unwilling at this point, she's making cyber dog creatures, and I am against that in every possible way, down to the core of my soul. She also had a gun that turns flesh into flowers, which it seemed that our character already knew about that, but that was a thing that we didn't know about, or at least I don't remember it being discussed before, and that was very annoying. And time didn't really make sense, and reality didn't really make sense, and the WTF arc has me literally WTFing all the time. And she got away, and Stag was mad at me because I let my friends get hurt. So all in all, it was a very classic Sierra mission of failure and frustration. But it is Friday. I'm back. I'm going to play a little bit more of Book of Hungry Names, and then next week I will come with Werewolf the Apocalypse Purgatory by Different Tales. And we're playing a visual novel for a little while, and then we'll come back to this. But I'm very excited. We're at the in-between point of chapters when you sort of like do chiminage, and level up and stuff like that. And I'm not super like I mean, I know this sounds stupid because it's me, but I'm not like running off to go like get more gifts and stuff. I'm fine. But I did see this. As you're running a work errand on Bridge Street one afternoon, you decided to slack off by checking your P.O. box, and there's another letter from Black Tarn, who I love. You tear it open. Much activity to discuss. I am coming. There is a monkey with too much knowledge of too many strange things working for a company called New England. She's so extra, and I love her, and I miss her terribly. Neo Albion, no doubt. The monkey has tried to catch me a few times, but without success. I am going to take a 4-footed trip east, and I will see you soon to discuss what I have learned. BT. You make sure Elton sees the letter and he's excited, but then a week slips past and then a second. Great. Something is wrong. Elton investigates with his Stormcrows, and you try and track down every lead you can think of without physically traveling back to New York, but Black Tarn has suddenly gone silent. Is she hurt? Captured? You don't know. She better be fine. I will be so upset. I also saw this. We should visit the decommissioned Vermont Yankee station and see if we can learn anything. I don't remember what this is from, like when this was discussed. Probably because I have the brain capacity of Swiss cheese. So I want to, and I know I could be like, going to the Barrows and like, playing chiminage to stuff. But I want to do this instead because this is my reality, because this is Sierra's world and we're just living in it. So I want to see what this is because I literally don't remember Vermont Yankee Stadium. I don't remember that being discussed at all. The former site of Vermont Yankee is less than an hour north, right over the border. Shut down in 2015, it's off limits to the public until 2073. You checked. What? Why? What on earth would ever make 2073 50 years? Was there some sort of nuclear issue? What? But you and your pack might be able to find something. Nin and Melody run up there in lupus form just to refamiliarize themselves with what used to be Broadbrook territory and to expose any obvious banes. Nothing. At least nothing in the woods outside the plant. So the next week, you, Elton, and Podge take the truck up one afternoon to get a little closer. We're not going in, at least not yet, the Theurge says as Podge gets off the highway. I just want to look around in the Umbra. You missed the battle over the Vermont Yankee shutdown, right? You asked the other Garu. This was before our time, Podge says, as he parks at the new hydroelectric plant on the Connecticut River. He stares at the river and the woods of New Hampshire on the far shore. Maybe that's why we're still alive. Okay, let's go, Elton says. You park in a grassy meadow within sight of the Connecticut River. The publicly accessible part of the site is about a mile upriver. A cold wind blows down off the mountains as Elton takes the lead. His scarf streams out behind him. So was there a Bane at Vermont Yankee or something? Podge asks, like a bigger and worse version of the pig guy at Chemicon? Some Garu say Gaia died at the Trinity test in 1945, Elton says. That first nuclear bomb stopped her heart, and everything else has just been twitching and spasms as brain death sets in. I mean, That's a hard point to argue, not gonna lie. Cool, Podge says. Should we get dinner in town or drive home and stop at Johnny's roadside diner? My point, Elton says, is that nuclear power represents something inherently malicious. When I berate you for failing to notice the spiritual aspect of our work, Patrick, or when I criticize your confidence in humanity's wisdom, Sierra, it is always the specter of nuclear power that I'm thinking about. To humanity, nuclear power is a rational political and economic calculation, an attempt to find the least worst way to provide for 7 billion hungry mouths. Is it better or worse than coal or oil? Hard to say, especially with all the fear and propaganda swirling around everything. From the numbers I've seen, it was probably better up until recent developments in solar power rendered it less than ideal. But for us, for Garu, we can see the truth. In the spirit world, nuclear power is the apocalypse. It makes it difficult to take humans too seriously. Fun fact, here in Germany, like, what we call a nuclear power plant, we call Atomkraft, or Atomkraftwerk, the actual power plant, is, like, still a thing that is not, like, favorably looked at. I still, like, I think today when I was walking my dog, I see cars with bumper stickers that say no to nuclear power. It's a pretty common slogan that I see as long as I've lived here. Which is so strange because I live very, very close to France, and there's, I think, when you over the Rhine, the river Rhine, which also runs through France, when I travel over that way, I can see a nuclear power plant in the distance. So, so I find that pretty interesting. Who says we see correctly, Elton? The spiritual sensitivity of the Garu is overrated. I don't know if I want to say that. You underestimate humanity. We either teach them the truth or we're all doomed. That one. Exactly, Podge says as you crest a rise and look down on the decommissioned power plant. Don't start coughing already. It's a huge faceless concrete cube surrounded by security fences and outbuildings. The outer structures lean over the Connecticut River. You keep talking about the spiritual component to this battle, Elle, but we can barely reach the spirit world. As you look around, Elton takes out a folding knife and cuts a quick mark in the air. The razor right you used to see the umbra around Broadbrook reaches all the way up here, it seems. Maybe it's the proximity to the Connecticut River. Oh God, Podge says, stumbling back from the umbral vision. You only catch a glimpse of the black tower beneath a black sun, boiling in an endless green sky and sea of sulfurous fumes and balefire radiance. Oh, great. You stumble away coughing, your retinas burn with alternating black and green stripes. Besides you, Podge falls to his hands and knees on the muddy slope and throws up. Lovely. Elton flicks the knife through the air again, banishing the vision. You blink tears out of your eyes and look down on the ugly concrete cube, but you can still see the afterimage of the answering tiger. This is not a struggle against a political or economic entity, Elton says. The spirit world is primary. The answering tiger is real, and that pitiful little decommissioned power plant is one of its claws, one of its protrusions into the physical world. Clay's pack stopped the oil pipeline, but it returned in umbral form worse than ever. You saw the pattern line. Broadbrook worked with humans to decommission Vermont Yankee, but the real thing isn't Vermont Yankee. The real thing is a dying god that haunts our dreams and plots to blind humanity so no one can fight back. So what the hell do you expect us to do? Podge says. He spits, takes a swig from his water bottle, spits again. Here, look again, Elton says, flicking his knife. No, just fucking tell me, Elton. I don't want to see that Event Horizon shit again. Had you looked more closely, the Theurge says in the huffy way he uses when someone isn't meeting his expectations, you would have seen that much of the local umbra is illusory. What you saw is quite bad true, but the answering tiger uses what we hate and fear, the sight of the apocalypse, to frighten us and constrain our actions. Since the tiger is actually at our cairn, the illusions here are in fact quite pallid. That didn't look pallid. Holy shit, dude, what the hell? Sorry, Elton says. I should have warned you, but my point is that though the answering tiger might have once been a god, he's not omnipotent. He works with illusions and tricks. In many ways, he's just a stronger version of Ashfield's Triple King. Once you learn what to look for, these gods are unconvincing even in their holy of holies. So where do we start? Podge says, staring directly at the decommissioned power plant. He's too stubborn to back down now. No glorious charges today, Patrick, Elton says. Among other problems, I think the answering tiger reacts badly to large groups of Garu. Only one of us, and not Sierra. Why not, you ask? Because the answering tiger has targeted you directly on more than one occasion, Elton says, which tells me that either you're unusually vulnerable... which tells me that you're unusually vulnerable to his influence, or he hates you even more than the other Garu. Well, they're both good options. Let's run some more tests before we go home, then one of us should breach the site and try to learn something valuable. You spend the rest of the afternoon poking holes into the Umbra with your knife, and you think Elton is right. The answering tiger is showing you what you want to see. You're seeing what you instinctively hate and fear, something that makes you want to attack mindlessly until it goes away. It's not even a complete trick, Podge says, taking recordings on his phone. His lips are blue even though the wind isn't that cold. It's a cheap trick. It's not even really adapting to us. That might change if one of us gets closer, Elton says, but let's not. Yeah, I've had enough, Podge says. You hike back to the truck. It's completely surrounded by local police and Vermont State Police and 2 black SUVs you've seen Neo Albion use before. They might be Neo Albion or FBI. You can't tell. Great. We could take them. There's 3 of us. We could take them. We could take the ones we can see, Elton says. Who else is there? Podge asks. I don't know, Patrick, Elton says. Do you want to charge down and find out? I like that truck, Podge says, but the 3 of you are already retreating back into the woods. Podge takes out his phone and starts placing a call. Leave Lucinda alone, Elton says. We can shift and run home. Podge's call connects. Behind you, the truck explodes. Oi, shit, mate, how many did you kill? Elton cries. Those are mostly just regular cops. Fuck regular cops, Podge says, and probably none, unless they hung around after the speaker said a bomb is going off in 10 seconds, but that should hide our trail. Oh man, I wanted to fight him. It's a 4-hour run in Lupus form to an old safe house in Greenfield that's just an abandoned farmhouse with a fireplace and some canned food Melody restocked last year. No electricity, but it's close enough to a bar that you can get data. You soon have a nice fire going. The next day, you're able to finish your run back home. Once you're there, everyone heads to Melody's Barrows for dinner. She's right that so many Garu are dangerous in the middle of a city, and she keeps different soups for dinner and pies for dessert, so she's hard to refuse. Love that for us. After eating, the 5 of you discuss Vermont Yankee and who should conduct an extended scouting expedition. It has the potential to be dangerous, but you might be able to learn something valuable about the answering tiger. Once again, no one wants to make a decision. While Melody finishes her wine, Nin occupies herself plunking away on Harmony's old mandolin, while Podge, who hates cleaning, starts to clean. Elton looks around for a book so he can look busy, finds only a James Harland fantasy novel, and decides to read the back of a cereal box. He's such a snob. So it's up to you to decide again. Really, me, the main character? Yep. Okay. No, I don't want to send Nin by herself. All right, I'm trying to look and see like the people who I like the least. I like them all though. That's really the problem here. I'm gonna send Elton. I like Elton, but I'm gonna send Elton. Elton, you're the scholar. Good luck up there. I'll try to be back in a few days, Elton says. Don't die, I'll feel bad. Can Podge and I improve the security around the Beninsky estate? You talk the idea over with Podge over a breakfast of suicide cereal, leavings and sweepings from brand Frosted Flakes and Cheerios. Gross. And the Arun says that he'd like better camera coverage and better anti-countermeasure systems. I don't want my measures to get counted. I want to counter the counters, he explains. Extra wiring that doesn't cause interference, maybe some of the off-the-shelf detection programs that we modify for our own purposes, or someone we can trust to get this stuff up. Oh, and we need a couple $100. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, I can get Hoblin to return to the area. Yes, let me check my phone. What's my bank statements looking like? Over 900. I had 1,000 before, but I had to buy a bike again. Let's not forget. I chip in a few $100s to help Hoblin return to the area. Yes. Some problems you can't solve with fangs or spirit magic. Some problems need a couple $100, so Podge can drive down to Holyoke and pay a Greek forger named Dion Dumptruck over $1,000 for a complete new identity. But Podge says this guy is the best, and you do have a secret weapon, Nin. She convinces Trevor to put on a St. Homunculus show for the victims of the Rosemary Street riot. Some of that money will go to bail funds, but the rest you'll spend to get Hoblin back. Your pack hands over wads of crumpled 20s, then you spend the nights working security. The show is good. In fact, it's so great that the buzz lingers for weeks among those who are there. If any alt weeklies still existed, there'd be a glowing write-up. But you're too busy to have a good time, and the others are worried. Hobland is shaken by his ordeal, and Melody has to track him down and speak to him before he trusts you enough to come back. Melody hasn't been idle as Nin raised the money. She dug through old records until she uncovered that the house Mr. Ware occupied in Ashfield, he was the priest of the Triple King, master of the, Nashia tree, wasn't legally his. It belonged to Melody's parents, and Mr. Ware was just squatting. So after the Hog Throne show, Melody and Lucinda drive up there and report back to you and the others. It's been abandoned since Melody was freed, it's well fortified, and Melody had no problem disposing of the petty sorceries that shrouded it. The place is perfect for Hobland. Still, it takes time for him to return. What a werewolf can throw off as a minor skirmish, even a hardened veteran like Hobland has a hard time dealing with. But he's back. That's so nice. Okay. Let's go to the slum and see if anybody wants to give me anything. Nope. I have 3 glory and 3 wisdom. That's it. That's all I got. Nope, nothing at the slum for me. Do I have enough money to improve security? I don't know. Podge knows his way around household security, but he's primarily a bomb maker, and since he's a living bomb maker, he follows all the instructions in order. This means that despite his casual attitude towards private property, dinner etiquette, personal space, and regular haircuts, he's a stickler for the procedures. While he's already surrounded the Beninsky estate with individual security systems, a camera here, a reinforced lock there, he's having a hard time adapting the plans he's downloaded to the House of Usher, where the 3 of you live. We do live in the House of Usher. Amazing. The Pit and the Pendulum. You see 3 ways to help Podge in his goal of creating a unified, hardened security system around the estate. First, you could carefully put some holes in some walls and run wiring through them. That would help Podge avoid over-reliance on Bluetooth and other wireless technology, which is vulnerable to hacking. Second, you could dig into the computer hardware and see if you can improve it. Third, you might be able to get in touch with some gray market contacts Podge doesn't use and get better equipment. The Arun knows how to scrounge, so the whole project will cost you a little more than $100. I don't know how much it cost me to get Hobland back, but... I checked the computers and hardened the code against data intrusion. Is that a thing that I'm good with? Probably not, but I'm gonna do it anyway. You do what you can, reading forums for known exploits and compile a list for Podge, but you're not an expert. Still, the 2 of you eventually manage to get everything set up and mounted. That should work, Podge says. Oh my god, Elton's back. Elton stumbles into the Beninsky estate at 3 in the morning and starts removing his bright yellow radiation suit. Oh god. Burn marks his cheeks and forehead, but when he sweeps a burned Geiger counter over his body, there's only a faint crackle. Bad times at the Apocalypse Factory, you ask? I heal quick, Elton says, and the psychological dimension of tangling with the answering tiger was much worse than some balefire burns. What did you learn? I ask. To summarize, the answering tiger is an asshole. The answering tiger is indeed the spirit or god that was the spiritual reflection of the now decommissioned nuclear power plant. Threatened with destruction, the tiger struck a deal with Eater of Names and helped him create the false reality that deceived the Broadbrook Garu at the Battle of Graves Farm, and brought about their destruction. But here's where it gets interesting. The answering tiger is obsessed with falsehood. He's a deceiver god, essentially. And to bring about his victory and to preserve him before he could return to life, the answering tiger extracted all sorts of promises from him. Eater of Names is in debt like few werewolves before him. That means he has to be paying chiminage somewhere, somehow. We have to find out what ritual Eater of Names is performing to keep the answering tiger from ripping him apart. When we find that, we will have a weakness we can exploit. Eater of Names is in spiritual debt. That's something you can use. You suspect you know where to learn more, the Book of Hungry Names. The Black Spiral Dancer's journal might contain information you can use if you can stomach reading it. Elton already tapped out, and the other Garu don't want anything to do with that vile text. You're about to ask Elton some more questions when you realize that he's just fallen asleep on the pile of spare clothes and fanny packs you keep in the entryway. Adorable. Oh god. Alright, I will. Gonna use what shimonage I have to heal the forest, because I feel like that's the most important thing. I've said that before. The prison project is in chaos, but Podge reports that the cult of Fenris is still trying to move forward with development. And despite their brutal and straightforward nature, Heinrich is a philodox, a magistrate of the spirit world, and who knows how to command the rage-maddened pantheon that has sworn itself to Fenris Wolf. You need to act before he reaches into the Umbra and reshapes reality to his liking. You and your fellow Garu spend days in negotiation and planning, speaking with the protesters, media personalities, and the spirits of the ancestors until you're ready to act. On the first night, you slip past the security cordons in lupus form, each of you heading to one of the patron spirits. You kneel before Stag and reaffirm your oaths of fellowship and solidarity with the great spirit of havens and community. While you remind your patron of his sacred obligations and the wild joy he feels in fulfilling them, your packmates get to work too. Melody addresses Gorgon in her aspect as an avenging angel of God. Interesting. Interesting for a Silverfang to do that. Elton invokes Caius, the Ice Wind. As a wolf-born Nin has to speak with both the peaceful unicorn and the bloodthirsty, oh good lord, Mirasinonyx. He's a city wolf, but Podge nonetheless offers his obeisance to each of the 5 idols, reassuring them that rat, mouse, and cockroach want the invaders gone as badly as they do. The next week is spent coordinating with humans, preparing for a massive protest, and teaching them what to do. You also contact local and state media to prepare for what is to come while monitoring the cult. But the cultists seem to be arguing with each other, even as work continues on the prison. They are unaware of what you're planning. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I didn't see it. I wasn't looking because I was too engrossed in the story. Gotta love Podge. I love Podge. I'm so glad we picked him to be our boyfriend. The night of the insurgency is a blur of frantic preparation, your consciousness almost crushed under the weight of the patron spirits. The sky churns blackly. People have ringed the construction site for days, shouting, sabotaging, getting arrested. Dark clouds hang over the paralyzed worksite for a week. Politicians and contractors abandon the project, but the protesters keep the pressure on. When a private security contractor assaults a journalist in Holyoke for asking questions outside Everlight HQ, you can feel the pressure building in your brain. Something has to break. Then at sunset, the skies open up. The crowd cheers, screams. Standing under tarps, the protest becomes an impromptu celebration because it's obvious that the site doesn't have a chance. The police and security personnel run like headless chickens. Nothing to shoot at, no one to hurt. This is a spiritual war. They flee to the sprawling parking lot. And of course, find their vehicles disabled. The regular humans did a great job there. The media captures everything. You spend most of the night getting regular people the hell away because a few minutes before midnight, a mudslide washes across the site, obliterating everything in 1,000,000 tons of green. Gaia has reclaimed this land, and the humans are lucky to bear witness without dying in the process. When it's all over, you can hear a great howl. Gaia? No, it's Fenris. Howling, screaming, roaring, defeated. Yeah, take that. Unless that's also a fake memory implanted by Answering Tiger. Morning brings the first news report. 2 dead security personnel that no one will mourn. 5, well, maybe. No one? They had no one? 5 arrests and already protests breaking out around the police station, blocking traffic, spreading chaos. Over the next week, 4 politicians resign and 2 companies suddenly dissolve as financial scandals rock them. GRC media keeps cranking out optimistic reports, but GRC is just AI slurry now. It's over. The prison will never be built, and the land is already starting to heal. The forest is yours again. Go us. We're the best. All right, let's go to Elton's and read the Book of Hungry Names and see if we can stop ourselves from going totally mental. You return to Elton's flat and open the Book of Hungry Names. It, the Book of September, and several other occult reference books have been stored in a small cell-like room with a single cushion and low desk. Elton has given you the key to the first lock, told you where the key to the second lock is hidden, and you know the combinations to the third, fourth, and fifth locks. Among the more impressive cult treasures, in Kunambula and first editions, it looks so unassuming. A line-ruled hardcover notebook, little black shoelace-like straps to keep it shut. Maybe $5 on Amazon. You can feel its baleful influence. Awesome. Awesome. What does Eater of Names get out of this? Is it pure zeal, or does he expect some reward? What is Answer Tiger? No. In a way, you'll never understand the Black Spiral Dancers. Not only do they seek the destruction of the world, they believe it's already been accomplished. Their dance is a dance of celebration. But despite his death and resurrection, his wild zeal, and his monstrous cruelty, Eater of Names is a philosopher, a theurge, and a man who's lucid enough to fill dozens of notebooks with his plans for the future. Nonetheless, your attempt to understand his personal motivations leads you, at first, only to wild musings about the nature of the Umbra. Mystics everywhere tell stories about the true nature of the world, of a time beyond time, of how the zebra got his stripes and why the sun sometimes grows dark. We talk about heroes and tricksters and lovers. We talk of things made, songs sung, pledges honored or betrayed, and we say this is the truth of the spirit. No, the Umbra is savage. It has one verb, eat. It is spirits eating spirits all the way down. Life and death, life in death, endless slaughter. The name of this dead world is hunger, but the true horror is that when something is eaten, something new takes its place, and that replacement echoes back across all of time. This is the true delirium, what drives humans mad, not fantasies of the Impergium, a prehistory when the Garu preyed on humanity with such brutality that it implanted an ancestral memory of terror in every human. Werewolves were never that important. The delirium comes from seeing things how they are and always were. Oh, red-pilled. He's a red-pilled he's a red-pilled incel. I knew it. In the moment you are a wolf. You have always been a wolf. And always but physical, I am a wolf. In the moment you are human, you are and always were. But in the shifting and in the middle form that partakes of both, the logic of the physical world bleeds away, exposing the truth of the Umbra, the impossibility of time, the endless predation of spirit upon spirit, the nightmare of existence, and the oblivion that is deeper than death, that is never to have been. This is what drives humans mad. Speculation, but as you read, the language of oblivion grows more personal. There are several pages about managed decline, about how the Black Spiral dancers need to shift from an active destruction of the world to making sure nothing, not a single germ, plasm, or dream, escapes the corpse of Gaia. This appears to be an in-group polemic. Eater of Names is arguing with his fellow Black Spiral dancers here, as Heinrich sometimes argues with other cultists of Fenris who did not share his exact approach to worshipping the Mad Wolf. But then the work grows more personal again. There's lots of stuff about Eater of Names' predecessor, Breaker of Wings, who handled the physical end of preventing humanity's escape. He worked to stop space travel. Of more immediate practical interest, the next page contains a rendering of his armor. It's like Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man after a plane crash, a nightmare of twisted metal and flesh. It takes you several unpleasant seconds to understand what you're looking at, but then you realize that it shows you how Breaker of Wings' spacesuit transforms as its wearer changes. You might be able to use this. You take a picture and print it out for Elton to examine. Then you return to reading. When everything is finally still, when the wheel is dead and wrapped in dead cobwebs, only then will it start turning again. Only then will the wheel of ages turn and bring about rebirth, and all things will shift. The wild will become stasis, the weaver will become death, and the worm and its herald will make Gaia anew as the new force of creation. Malachi Pallas, that old sorcerer, once said that God, in his pious rendering God, and creation could not coexist. Either one was dead or the other. This tilt between life and death defined the relation of God to his creation. I earnestly hope that is so. I hope that this time the new wild will perish in birthing creation. I hope that we get it right this time. I wish to set my sword down. I wish to make art. Whatever you say, bro. Your head aches. It's 9 a.m. Jesus. You check your phone because last time you got yanked into work and you don't need more surprises. Then you check the oil painting of Elton because the last time the background appeared to move. Wait, the oil painting of Elton? You look around. Catherine Aslan... Oh no! You look around Catherine Aslanian's apartment. Oh no, not again. No, come on, guys. Come on. Stop picking on me. Why is Answering Tiger picking on me so bad? Because I'm looking at stuff? Because I'm reading? I grew up on reading Rainbow. This is definitely the same kind of dislocation you've experienced before, like at Mountain Street Scientific when you saw your own corpse on the slab, and at Gorski Manor when you spoke to Catherine through the monitor before Nin hauled you back to the real world. You're in the same apartment you visited dozens of times before, but it's full of furniture, where Alton's is increasingly barren. Bright new poison green wallpaper, he's already impregnated by the aroma of Sobranies covers the walls. Sobranies are Catherine's cigarettes. I have no idea. Alton's oil painting hangs over the fireplace in shades of gray and crimson. When you push aside the brocaded auras, these words are too fancy for me, and look down on Main Street, it's been converted to pedestrian and bike traffic only. Main Street is crowded despite the early hour and the light drizzle, and then suddenly it all vanishes, and you're in a kind of unfinished third-floor stage set. Blue tape on the ground, exposed walls, cheap or fake furniture, everything gone except the masterful oil painting of Elton. Outside looks vaguely similar, except old cars are parked on the street and the exterior walls are all new. They look cheap and artificial. It's like a whole fake town out there. I'm in the simulation. The spring sky is real, but the air smells like freshly cut wood. Okay. And you can hear the sounds of construction nearby. Great. That's my feeling. Great. Are there any people in the sitcom stage reality I'm seeing, or am I all alone? You can hear construction, so you cross to the other side of the flat where Elton's bedroom normally is. There's a cheap bed on the floor, and you see the parking lot and the parking garage outside, except like everything else, they're cheap and brand new, like a stage or a set. Workers are busy regrading the land where the radio station and Cavaletti to go should be, since it's too swampy and they need to drain it before they build anything. So this isn't Northampton. The landscape is too wet. You check every window and realize that this little playscape is only a few square blocks. Beyond that, it's forest, not suburbs. Thick, trackless forest, bisected by a wide, slow, broad brook. Great Gaia, that's Broadbrook. You're here. That's when you see the riot cops jogging across the street towards your location. 12 police officers armed with less than lethal ammunition and clear shields. Some combination of run and hide seems best here. What's my best options of the two? There isn't a lot of furniture here and everything creaks, but no doors have locks, so you can move through this whole building. And if this mock-up is like the real Northampton, you're next to the mini-mall. You hurry down a hallway and find yourself in an empty mall courtyard with floor-to-ceiling windows that look down on the street. From here, you have a better view of the cops. They're maneuvering through some kind of combat obstacle course, shooting and ducking as they pop off shots at painted stand-ups. It's a training area. You circle to another window and see another pack of cops getting ready to assault a rudimentary copy of Pulaski Park. It's all a training area. You're inside an entire artificial city built for cops, less than a mile north of the real thing. And the truth hits you like a hammer. Eater of Names is in debt to the Answering Tiger. To pay down his spiritual debts, he must offer chiminage. What does a spirit of lies want? More lies. An Eater of Names isn't just in a little bit of debt, he's in so deep that he'd need something astounding, something huge, just to avoid the Bane killing him on the spot. He would need an entire city. To please Answering Tiger, he'd need to build an entire city made of lies. And here it is. Awesome. Go, go, go! The second squad moves into the fake version of the Pulaski Park, shooting their less than lethal rounds at mannequins. This is where I should say something philosophical, isn't it? About how we distinguish the true... Oh, it's Sorb again. This is where I should say something philosophical, isn't it? About how we distinguish the true from the false, the real from the simulacrum? I don't know how to say that. I only have ever read that word. I don't actually know how to say it properly. Good morning, Stormcat, you mutter, watching the cops finish their sweep. What's going on here? Chiminage is going on, Sierra. Desperate chiminage to pay off a debt that Eater of Names may never be able to pay. What do you mean, you ask? The Answering Tiger is a god that failed, but even a fallen god can create whole worlds. To defeat the Garu at the Battle of Graves Farm, Eater of Names conjured dreams of a victorious world for his enemies. Even as they killed each other, he imprisoned their dying minds in that world. A world where they won. You've seen glimpses of that world, as the Answering Tiger struggles against his bonds. And I see that you understand, Sierra. Eater of Names owes Answering Tiger. This is his profane offering to the god of lies. But now you face a problem. What do you try to accomplish first? Melody wants her cairn back, quite understandably. Elton always believes he understands the bigger picture. His goal will be to tell other Garu about the kind of threat the Answering Tiger and other deceiver spirits represent. And when Podge finds out about this place, he'll want it gone. Ooh. The tiger represents a fundamentally new type of threat the nation is ill-equipped to fight. Yeah, you think? This is horrible. the WTF arc is the worst. It's the worst enemy Gaia's warriors have to fight. I hate it. The Garu must change and adapt, and they need to know how. Please, dear God. That's the problem, isn't it? If you beat the answering tiger and tell other Garu how to do the same thing, who's to say that you really beat the tiger? Who's to say he didn't trick you? A troubling conundrum. But what of more immediate concerns? This is what we've been waiting for, an opportunity to reach Broadbrook. I've got to check this place out. Yeah, I would love to. I've been trying to go to Broadbrook since, I don't know, we got here. And I think it's been like a year in game. You could follow me to the cairn itself, I say, flicking my tail in an elegant fashion to show you how hard I'm thinking. But that's dangerous. It's cops with paintball guns, Stormcat, you say, smugly stupid expression on your face. Shut up, Stormcat. I bet Sierra has a perpetually smug, stupid expression on her face. And the Bane guardians of this place, Sierra, the dark knight called Kamad, and the thing that waits outside the circles of the world. You could look around, but it will be dangerous. I advise the better part of valor. You grab the oil painting, which isn't that big, and consider how to get out of here. What's my rage at? Because I never know. 2? All right. Let's shift into Glabro. Ooh, I shifted my Kratos for obliterate some cops. Did I lose a rage? I did. I did lose a rage. Okay. So is there some way to use this painting to get home without escaping physically? I just thought I'd... What? Glabro, the wolf woman. Next, I shift into my Glabro form. What? Huh? Yes. Ask about the painting. I already explained that the way the painting changes reveals perturbations in the Umbra. I can't explain it any better because my explanations would perturb the Umbra in a way that prevents you from understanding. You may be a werewolf, Sierra, but we don't share much common ground, mentally or perceptually. Yes, but the painting doesn't change, and I've only seen this one once, you say, studying Elton's portrait. But perhaps you can work it out, if you're smart enough, and carry the painting back with you. Sadly, I cannot explain it to you, as that would cause the pattern to change again. It is a limitation of spirits. Okay. Can you take me to the cairn? I could take you to the physical location, yes, but Eater of Names has entirely sealed it. Awesome. I don't want to pick this one because I'm stupid. Sierra is dumb. I study the painting and figure out... That's why Podge likes me, because I'm cute and dumb. I study the painting and figure out the riddle that Stormcat obviously wants me to understand and escape. I can't... You compare the two paintings side by side. Same 11-bolt ring on Catherine's finger and Elton's. Catherine is in the same blue dress she always wore, according to the pictures. Elton in his frock coat and a sweater. Catherine with an iris. Elton with a sprig of red salvia. But you can't see what I mean, can you? We need to go. Can't you hear their feet? And now that I mention it, you can hear booted feet on the cheap plywood stairs below. You grab the painting and, trusting that this false city is laid out like the real one, bang down the side stairwell, taking the stairs 5 at a time. You burst out into the covered alley, then run from it to the side alley between the mini mall and the parking garage. The cops are jammed up in the stairwell behind you, trying to get turned around. After several minutes of steady running, you've left them behind. You cross a road, an ordinary road, that, if you followed it, would take you to the Beninsky estate and push deeper into the woods. You don't hear the moth Fomori until they're on top of you. Jesus Christ. The moth thing comes out of nowhere, literally just pops into existence right next to you and slams you to the ground, ripping your flesh. Its mouth parts bite into your wrist. You scream and punch it as hard as you can, knocking it away so it drifts like a drowned woman in midair, its wings streaming out behind it like hair. Over here, Sierra. Overcoming your habitual and instinctive cowardice. Yep. You leap over another moth thing and run for where I'm demonstrating my brave and decisive leadership. As I have bravely and decisively chosen to flee, you sensibly follow my tail through the underbrush as I lead you back towards Northampton. What? Seen in daylight, even under less than ideal conditions. Wasn't something odd about the way those moths moved? My eyes see far into the umbra, but it was like something stood behind the moths, controlling them. These philosophical matters are not for cats, but they might be for wolves. Ask Elton if the moth Fomori ever appeared where he studied in that decaying city by the Rhine. Decaying city by the Rhine? Like, I literally was talking about the Rhine, like, at the beginning of this when I was talking about nuclear power plants. The Rhine, like the Rhine River in Germany or in Central Europe. Once you catch your breath, you check your gear, only to find that nothing remains of the oil painting of Elton except a scrap of wood. Damn, so much for that lead. It's why I didn't want to do that one, because I knew I'd be too stupid to figure it out. But I did it anyway, because I just wanted to see. Mixed news from Elton and Nin about reaching Broadbrook. Despite leaving as soon as they could and retracing your route, they were unable to reach the cairn itself. However, they were able to reach the police training facility. There, Elton used his gifts to scout the facility, note its extent, and take lots of pictures. So we've made two major advances. Elton says that evening as he serves you and Nin leftovers from a recently shuttered fusion restaurant. Humans are already learning about the training facility and getting angry, and our inability to reach our cairn is no longer mystical misdirection. It's a hard supernatural defense, the same sort of mystic ward that keeps spirits out of this flat. That's something we can work directly against, and I plan to see what I can do about it. Yeah. What are our options to getting to the cairn, if any? You don't want to approach the cairn itself until you deal with the cult of Fenris. I thought we did. Melody's hatred for the cult is well known. I thought we did deal with them when we cleared the forest. Did we just like deal with the Huvud development in the forest? Melody's hatred of the cult is known, but it's by no means irrational. When you meet her one morning in town for breakfast and ask her about attacking Eater of Names with the cult still active, she has a list ready. Seattle, last year. The fellow doc says, a pack tried to move on an industrial site ruled by a notorious Bane, while the cult of Fenris operated in their area. The cult got there before the pack did, attacked the industrial site, massacred the workers, and gave the Bane time to organize its defenses. 5 Garou died in the subsequent attack, and they were forced to withdraw. The cult declared victory. Quebec province, 10 years ago, working to stop the same oil combine that your old pack in New York fought, French, English, and native Garou set aside their differences for the first time in centuries to coordinate against a province-wide threat. A single cultist infiltrated their ranks, murdered a native Garou, then persuaded half the survivors to launch a suicidal and public attack on the target company, leaving 10 werewolves dead and the veil torn so badly that in 3 years, Fomori sorcerers have started to infiltrate Quebec City. Cologne. Yeah, so that must be the Rhine thing. That's the Rhine. It runs through Cologne. That's like where like the biggest part of it runs through Germany. It's through Cologne, or Köln as we say. Cologne, 20 years ago, the local Theurges strike a temporary truce with the cult so they could deal with the coven of skin-stealing warlocks. The cult betrayed the truce, burned down 2 occult libraries in a doomed attempt to stop the skin takers and let the targets escape, driving 2 Theurges into such despair that they permanently lost the wolf, and shifting power to the Theurges of Mainz. Elton can tell you about that one. Yep, see? That's what I said. Never, ever turn your back on the cult, Melody says. They are murderers and monsters, and they have 1,000 ways of ruining your plans. Okay. Let's look at the painting again. You don't know if this painting is supernatural in its own right, or if it is merely receptive in some way to the mess the answering tiger and Eater of Names have made of reality. But now it's time to find out. Elton takes the oil portrait of Catherine to Melody's barrow. Lucinda and Melody are already there. The one human looks a bit nervous to be around 3 Garou, but she's ready with books on chemistry, art restoration, and even alchemy. And Melody looks pleased with herself. What is it? You ask the fellow docs. Remember when you asked Nin and me to look into your bad time at Gorski Manor? Melody says. When you saw Catherine on that screen outside of Mr. Klein's room? You nod. Melody holds up a slim leather-bound volume. That's a word. Here Architekon. Here Architekon. Because it looks sort of German, so I've got to read it like that. By Catherine Day. She hands it to you. Zeno's paradoxes haunt philosophy, and the general solution to them for the past 2,500 years has been to dismiss him on grounds that often sound more concerned with aesthetics, class, or primitive notions of pharmakeia, witchcraft, than serious argument. Zeno is a sophist, a fast-talking charlatan, little better than a carnival barker. His alleged inescapable paradoxes are crass, cheap, and beneath notice. We move past Zeno's flame-swallowing and juggling to serious intellectual business. But Zeno remains, his paradoxes remain, and nothing in this whole universe can move, unless you can out-argue Elia's greatest charlatan. Can you? Attempts to grapple more seriously with Zeno have treated him as a serious thinker and invoked complicated theories of limits to escape his paradoxes. I would like to propose a fourth path, for we have 3 so far, which we can arrange in a 2x2 grid. Zeno is a true philosopher, and he is correct. Zeno is a vulgar charlatan, and he is incorrect. Zeno is a true philosopher, but he is incorrect. But what if this world were the work of a charlatan? Now, don't read too much or you'll go permanently insane, Melody says, but there are parts of this book that help explain what this portrait is. Lucinda was able to read them, and she hasn't suffered from too much delirium or whatever this book does to your brain, so we have a leg up. And here are Harmony's books. She tells you, unloading notebooks, sketchpads, a laptop, and a pile of alchemical primers in German and English. My 2 languages, ranging from reprints of 16th century manuscripts to modern ethnobotanical texts. Do you understand any of Harmony's work? Eldon asks Lucinda, or Catherine's. What am I, a wizard? Lucinda says. Of course not. But sometimes understanding is in the hands. She wiggles her paint-stained fingers. You do something and you understand it. I'm hoping I can duplicate whatever I did when painting this portrait that's made it so important. Is there anything left of the other painting? I put a piece of the frame in my backpack, you say. Here. You hand her the frame, but nothing of Elton's oil painting remains. It's the same frame as the real one, Lucinda says, or a good copy. And it looked like my style? Yeah, you say, except it was Elton instead of Catherine, and used reds instead of blues. You describe everything you remember. Stars were the same? Lucinda asks. You think back and then say, no, Elton was in front of red clouds. Same ring? Same ring, you say. Elton holds up the ring he wears to the oil painting where Catherine wears it. Lucinda rubs her temples and says, okay, and could someone explain to me again where this copy came from? Sierra read a Black Spiral Dancer's book and got teleported to the version of Elton's apartment that's in Stats, Melody says. Stats? Lucinda asks. The system security training, strategy, and technical zone for the fake Northampton used to train police in riot suppression, Elton says. That's it. There she found this painting, fully realized, and took it. We suspect that it's a fragment of the Answering Tiger's false reality that the Black Spiral Dancer used to deceive and destroy the Broadbrook Garu. Sierra has previously been contacted by animate fragments of that false reality that threatened to pull her all the way in. Holy Moses, you people live like this? Is this every day for you? Lucinda says. You and the other Garu sort of shrug. Yeah, more or less. Okay, Lucinda says, let's get to work. We're going to turn this miracle into technology. We're going to build us a door. Easier said than done. Either Catherine encoded some kind of supernatural effect into the painting, or the Answering Tiger's presence and the existence of the Elton painting has caused some kind of weird resonance effect to take place, or some third weirder thing is happening. As a Garu, you've learned to live with bafflement, but Lucinda wants answers, and she turns all her vast education and technical training to finding them. Soon Melody's Barrow is a fulminating alchemist workshop. Podge delivers extra fans. Elton handles translation because Lucinda and Melody can both sort of read German, since the palace dialect of Yiddish was heavily influenced by German-speaking Czechs, but sort of is dangerous in alchemy. Melody serves as Lucinda's technical assistant. You consider what to do. I speak German, but Sierra doesn't. Do you have everything you need? Can I make a run into town or something? Can I get anyone some burritos? That's something I shouldn't fail at. Lucinda glances at the laboratory equipment she's gathered. I could use some better gear. Unfortunately, the only people I know who have better equipment are drug dealers. Old high school friends, you know. I can give you some names and addresses if you want. She's messing around with a Bunsen burner and can't get it to turn on. You diagnose the problem. The sparker isn't working. You need to replace the flint, you tell Lucinda. That I do have, Lucinda says. Also, I could use a lab assistant. Nothing highly technical or scientific. What I need is someone clever and responsive who can swap out beakers, adjust burn levels, that sort of thing. Good luck with that. I don't know. I lead Lucinda to the answers by keeping her calm and comfortable. Ooh. I'll go down to the gray market and get the equipment she wants. Lucinda draws up a list of everything she wants and every dirt bag you might be able to get it from, then hands you a wad of questionably sourced cash. Don't get robbed, she says, and don't tell anyone that I want my stuff back so I can do alchemy. She gets back to work with the help of Elton as translator and Melody as lab assistant as you take the bus south back into town. You end up at the same low-income apartment complex that you and Nin investigated when you were retracing Scarper's journey into the valley. You talk with Lucinda's ex-boyfriend's brother's ex-girlfriend. Jesus. She went clean a few years back and sold her supplies to someone whose name you recognize, one of the bike thieves who hangs around the parking garage. So that's your next stop. You find the bike thief working a late shift at the pescatarian restaurant next door. Bike thieving doesn't pay like it used to, and chat him up after ordering a drink and dropping a generous tip, right? You want to move on to actual, like, what is the phrase? Grand Theft Auto. That's what I'm looking for. That's what you want to move on to. He loans you a bike trailer, then gives you the phone number of the stuff's current owner. After 20 minutes of texting, you get the address of a self-storage facility, send a payment via Cash App, and get the combination to the lock. Here it all is, an entire chemistry kit. You check off everything on Lucinda's list, then load it onto the bike trailer and ride back. With all this gear, Lucinda finishes the last half of her work without difficulty, moving so fast that she can't actually explain to anyone else what the hell she's doing. After another frantic hour of work, Lucinda tells everyone to meet her outside. I understand everything now, Lucinda says. The full moon shines on her ruddy face and wreathes her frizzy hair in a silver halo. She looks utterly mad. Perhaps the fumes got to her. Go on, Elton says. The answering taiga is a fallen god, as we've established. The artist says, eyes shining. All that remains of the spirit or demon that was the spiritual reflection of a nuclear power plant. Vermont Yankee, Elton says, nodding. Decommissioning it was the Broadbrook Garu's greatest victory this century. I was up there a little while ago. Strange alchemies transpire in a nuclear plant, Lucinda says, and the answering taiga came to understand that, like any god, he could create worlds. He could even transcend his destruction in the physical world, the decommissioning of the plant, and live on in his attributes, in his names. He could create a world where he won, and hide there. But these worlds are always illusory. Apparently they're convincing enough from the inside. I want to make sure Melody is okay talking about gods and their illusions. I don't care. I understand that, like, Melody's like a Christian Garu, right? Right? Isn't that a thing that she is? I don't care. Why would I care about that? That's her own business. How does this help us reach the cairn? That's what I want to know. No offense. I'm done with the eco-terrorism. Time for some GTA. Yeah, honestly. Okay, I'm speculating here based on what Harmony wrote, Lucinda says as she holds up the last scrap of Elton's portrait. But this is a chunk of the answering taiga. He created it. It fell into our world. Right now, he's at the cairn, right? Right, Elton says. When we visited Vermont Yankee, we saw evidence of his lingering presence, but he wasn't there. Harmony hits this point again and again, that every part of a spirit is the spirit, Lucinda says. She talks about something called the correspondence point, and I honestly don't understand everything she means, but if we have a piece of the answering taiga, we should be able to reach any other piece of the answering taiga. So you just have to be able to follow the path through the Umbra to where all the parts are still connected as a whole. But there's a major problem. I don't know how to follow a path through the Umbra. I barely even know what the Umbra is. Now, one of Catherine's texts mentions a whippoorwill spirit, but I don't know anything about spirits or how to translate Garu mysticism into this sort of simple alchemy I've been able to work. I'm going to start research on... Elton is chuckling. What? Lucinda says. Nin knows whippoorwill, the Theurge says. One of her gifts is the Song of the Moon Path. I bet she can use it, and this. He holds up the scrap of wood, that's all that remains of his portrait, and gives it a melodramatic little pump in the air like it's a trophy. To reach the answering tiger. And the cairn. Sierra, talk with her about this. I'm going to write up everything we've done. Oh, Lucinda says. So I can go to bed? Because I've been doing all of this for fakakta sorcery, and I'm just a painter. I'm not cut out for this, you know? Spare bedroom's all made up, Melody says. Lucinda stumbles back down the grassy hill and goes to bed. And don't you have work? You check your phone. You have work. But you're getting closer to the cairn. You can feel it. That's right. I'm the best. Yes. Let's check out GRC Media's website. Anything left there? The building burned down to the foundations. Interestingly, it still has a web presence that's pumping out propaganda, but even the online version is a shadow of its former self. You sniff around the wreckage, careful not to draw police attention. The first time you go at night in lupus form, nothing. The second time you go in the afternoon in your Homid form, but it's just a blackened rectangle. You looking for the woman in gray? A man says when he steps out of the coffee shop across the street and notices you looking. He's dressed like a corporate drone, but his teeth are bad and his knuckles are scarred. Recently pulled himself out of a bad situation, you think. Woman in gray, you ask? The man takes a long drag from his vape pen. One of these? And then says, you've heard about the men in black, right? Well, every pack of men in black has a leader in gray. I saw her. Gray coat and a gray scarf, stained with blood. But all that soot never touched her. Then she left and a van pulled up and some guys loaded this mushroom-covered thing into a black van. Like, you know how mushrooms grow out of a log? These are mushrooms growing out of a piece of metal. You hit the guy up for anything else he remembers, info on the van, anything weird about the loading crew, where Giselle, you're guessing it's Giselle, went, but he starts to get a little erratic. This guy obviously hasn't eased into the white-collar lifestyle yet. You leave him alone before there's a rage-related problem. One last search of GRC media, nothing but smoke. Elton keeps hearing rumors that someone at the convenience store next to the Hotel Northampton is a warlock and possibly associated with Giselle. Hiccup. Since this person might lead you to the cult of Fenris, you and Elton spend hours at both the hotel and the convenience store, checking to see if anyone is associated with Giselle's particular brand of esoteric fascism. Podge searches forums and scans security feeds for faces he knows without success. 10 days of this pass before Nin recognizes one of the delivery guys. He used to sell his own homebrewed meth, Black Sun, at St. Homunculus shows until Nin and Roscoe told him what was going to happen if he didn't stop. This was before you came to the valley, apparently. Nin was pretty scary even when she couldn't change. Because she's the best. Now he deals out of the King Street convenience store and a few other places where he makes deliveries. The name is a coincidence. The guy doesn't know anything about fascist iconography and just thought Black Sun sounded badass. Dealers aren't really your purview as a werewolf, but Elton makes a note to monitor him. Lots of dead ends in this line of work. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do the moon path thing really quick. In a second. Alright, let's... Did I use up all my chiminage? I just want to make sure. I have 5 wisdom. Okay, so I can't do anything with that. Yeah. Let's go to the barrows. You return to the barrows. Melody is arguing with a wraith. Awesome. Ooh, achievement. Honored dead. Restore Melody's barrows. Look at me go. It's a warm, bright spring night as you sit on the grassy hill of Melody's barrow, looking out onto this once defiled land. Now the air is fresh and clear. The hills shine silver green in the moonlight, and flowers wave in the breeze, their colors gently muted in the half-darkness. The water flows clean in gleaming whitewater rivulets, and the path and bridges wind among the hills. The temple and the barrows, though unmistakably ruins, glow with care and with spiritual energy. The ancestors are close here, and you can feel their eyes upon you as the lands of the living and the dead finish healing and grow close. That's wonderful. Alright. Nothing to do there. Alright, let's talk with Nin about using the Song of the Moon Path to reach Answering Tiger. Nin lives upstairs, but you keep missing her. You ask Podge why she's out all the time, and he tells you that St. Homunculus has been hard at work on their new album. They're at a recording studio next to the Greek restaurant with all the different kinds of French fries. Oh, I love French fries. Podge drives you to Masonic Street in town, and you find St. Homunculus surrounded by instruments, laptops, and scraps of paper. It goes so hard, Trevor says. Over the guitars, it's like, for whom the bell tolls. Like, listen to this in oh God, flat, major? No. That's A flat, isn't it? I'm fairly certain that's A flat. Major. And then the vocals don't work, Nin says. She's wearing the same Missiles of October crop top she's been wearing since that comic convention photo shoot just before you followed Scarper's trail to Pine Island Lake. It's melodic, Trevor shouts. Or rather, he wants to shout. No one shouts at Nin twice, but he's obviously frustrated. We need something melodic too. Then we need another melody, Nin says, because the one you're singing is from Debbie Gibson. It is not. Nin sings. I don't know the song, as real as it may seem. Fuck, Trevor cries. He falls back onto his beanbag chair. Fuck. It would have gone hard as hell if it wasn't like from a Debbie Gibson song. Hard as hell. You've arrived at an opportune moment. Hey, can I borrow Nin, you ask? No one objects. I'll leave you boys to jam at the Stone Pony, Nin says, grabbing her oversized trench coat, also from the photo shoot, and following you into the hallway. We'd like to not die when we approach the cairn. Can you help with that? You explain everything you and Lucinda learned about the portraits as Nin plunks thoughtfully away on Queen's Who Wants to Live Forever. I know that song. Eventually, she says, I hate being used as a dog, not a wolf, but I'm going to talk to Lucinda. If I can get the smell of the answering tiger, I can follow him, the real him, like a bloodhound, right past his tricks to the cairn. That'll work, you ask? I can get us there, she answers without a trace of hesitation. We have a piece of the answering tiger, and every part of the answering tiger is him. Remember the claws of the Teufelshund? Teufelshund? Teufel is devil in German. Teufel, devil's hand. It is the same thing, but made of spirit, not alien flesh. I'm going to talk with Lucinda right now. St. Homunculus is arguing about K-pop. It sounds heated in there. Yeah, I think saving the valley is a better use of my time this afternoon, Nin says, taking out her chunky phone to text Lucinda. You should check out the cairn itself. You've never seen in before. One morning, Elton emails you that he'll be dropping by that evening. 5 minutes later, you get called into a double shift at Gorski Manor so miserable that there is only one consolation. You know that you're in the real world, not some comforting illusion conjured by the answering tiger. That Bane wouldn't have you ripping moldy, slimy insulation out of the partially collapsed north wing for 16 hours. Christ. You get home just as Nin invites Elton inside and hands him a candy bar. Here's the man himself, the Thayard shouts. Finally. He tosses a thick dossier onto the coffee table. Meet Hiram Vittorio Fane, the Thayard says, astronomer, computer scientist, and black spiral dancer. It's a trove, eater of names' entire mortal life up to his sudden disappearance in 2016. Elton reads out loud to help Nin as you examine the grainy photos. Born April 14th, 1946, only son of French industrious Urso Fane. You probably think this song is about you, Nin sings sotto voce. Concentrate, Nin, this is important, Elton says. And an American mathematician, MIT graduate, worked for NASA, Sikorsky, and a string of satellite launch and Wi-Fi startups. Here are the pictures of him with Michael Griffin, who ran InQtel, the CIA's venture capital arm, with the Dmitry Rogozin of Roscosmos. More photos shaking hands with Michael Sullivan of Everlight before the latter's promotion to Special Projects Director, talking with the developers of Gaia Research Company in the 1990s before its shuttering and subsequent transformation into GRC Media, links to some kind of biodome experiment in Nevada in the 70s, and the founding of Neo Albion and a dozen other post-9/11 security companies. He gets around, Nin says, reading slowly. But everything is for a specific purpose that I'm starting to understand, Elton says, especially since I've been able to learn a great deal about his predecessor, thanks to Sierra digging up that tomb in the Barrows. Breaker of Wings, formerly Wings of Smoke, birth name Benjamin Hutchinson. Yes, he's related to Arthur Hutchinson of Neo Albion and Sarah Hutchinson of Everlight. Breaker of Wings worked with NASA during the Challenger disaster, worked with ex-Soviet researchers as they shuttered their space programs, then worked to develop private space corporations that have, to put it mildly, filled low Earth orbit with so much junk that it's increasingly hard to launch. When he died, Ida of Names took over a similar program except with telecommunications. One of his companies lobbied the FCC to maintain the high rate of spam phone calls. Another has worked to root around ad blockers online. Everything he does is for one purpose, to clip our wings. Hiram Fane wants us to die here. He doesn't want a single germ or idea from this world to escape into the next one. You spend the rest of the day reading everything Elton has learned about Hiram Vittorio Fane, Eater of Names. The mundane write-ups are a welcome change from the nauseating experience of reading the Black Spiral Dancer's notebook. Alright, let's go visit Hobland, and then we can deal with the cult. That's fun. I have 6 days. I have 6 days. Could up my manipulation, I guess. My aim. Alright, let's do one more in aim and one more in combat, and that makes 6. Look at us go, and now let's go deal with the cult of Fenris. Ba-boom! I am ready. Let's do it. I'm ready to kick their asses out of this story once and for all. Something you didn't understand as a reasonably secure middle-class kid is how many institutions exist in a kind of legal gray area. Not technically permitted, but allowed to persist as long as they don't cause too much trouble in its first incarnation. Before you were born, Hogthrone was a mobile disaster area, half concert and half squat, the kind of temporary autonomous zone that scares normal people worse than the delirium. The streets tolerated its explicit illegality only because it served as a kind of pressure valve for all the freak energy in the valley. And maybe because they envied the desperate freedom of the people who use it. And maybe because they wanted to capture and monetize it as normal people have done so many expressions of the wild, the creative and uncontrollable facet of Gaia. Hogthrone is more tame in its current incarnation, with fewer acts of performative public mayhem, maybe because the old illegalist anarchists who started it have grandkids and sciatica. But it's also more politically active now, with ties to women's shelters, police abolition movements, and of course, environmentalist groups, which is why the Garou use it. But despite its increasing air of political legitimacy and the increasingly family-friendly advertising that has middle-class liberals trying to push their bugaboo strollers through crowds of screaming metalheads and crust punks, Hogthrone's directors haven't lost their radical edge, and they are seriously starting to piss off the rich landowners who control much of the valley. Hilarious. And when rich landowners get mad, they know who to call. Though there's been no repeat of the cult's attempted arson, human provocateurs watch the crowds, just close enough to make people anxious, backed up by local sheriffs. Police presence is heavy enough to drive a lot of people away, and you fear it's at least partly because of your recent activities. Hogthrone rotates venues, and you want to get a feel for the place before the Amherst show, so you move through shows in Leeds and Chesterfield, scouting the crowds and letting your mood shape your rage. That's good. I hang back because I don't want to ruin this for regular people or risk tearing the veil. Just stay away from me. Everyone stay away from me. I'm a walking disaster. You keep a low profile and let Hogthrone's human security do its job. They're excellent, hardened by decades of low-intensity skirmishes against fascist incursion, and trained in de-escalation and community protection. You keep watch as Melody, who hates the cult and their human acolytes, moves through the crowd like a one-woman wolf pack, occasionally bringing down prey. But the humans she targets aren't just ordinary provocateurs and infiltrators. They're so morally rancid that they're attracting Banes. Melody gets rid of them before they turn into Fomori. What she learns from her investigations is troubling. The cult's collaborators are so spiritually compromised that they're more of a threat to the cult than to the worm. Nin patrols across the river, and though she finds evidence of cult activity, she can't locate their moot site. She's convinced that the cult of Fenris has claimed idols from the Deercross Pack, the werewolves massacred in Holyoke, and she'd like to get them back. The Deercross Pack were mostly Red Talons, and while the Child of Gaia considers the Red Talons brutal and fanatical, they also have the most wolf-born of any tribe. She'd like to see their idols returned. But though you want to focus on the cult, you hear other stranger rumors from the crowd. People are talking about sickness, some kind of infection moving through the more vulnerable populations of the valley. The Stormcat hinted at something similar, but she revealed little. Everything people say is secondhand. My cousin's coworker says his ex-boyfriend got sick and disappeared. That sort of thing, and no one seems to know what it is. I know he's busy, but I'm busier, so I let my boyfriend know, because he can chase down those rumors. He's my boyfriend, so he'll do what I say. Stupid. You loop Podge in and get him a list of people you overheard discussing sickness, disappearances, anything like that. He's heard the same rumors, and though he's as slammed as you are, he promises to check it out. That's right, because you love me. I'm so sorry. It's the end of the week. As the weeks pass and the summer nights go from warm to hot, Podge's Albanian forger friends confirm that the developers, as humans know the cult of Fenris, are going to be at the Amherst Hogthrone show. The umbral skies darken as Elton unleashes his Stormcrow spies. The spirits return to the rooftop where the old Shadow Lords once sat in judgment. They have the answers you've all been waiting for. Heinrich, Vindlerson, and Roland will all be nearby, and Giselle might actually be there. And so will Alexios. These names! Who the bloody hell is Alexios? Elton asks, either you or the nearest Stormcrow. Is that the cultist who overturned the truck? Seems likely, you say, remembering how the cult ruined your best chance at learning more about Chemicon. The spirits have whispered that name, Nin says as she tunes her acoustic guitar, feet dangling off the edge of the roof. A Red Talon who abandoned... Miracinonyx. Can't with these names. Miracinonyx, the ghost cheetah, and joined the cult of Fenris. That's all I know. Oh, goodness. Former Talon. But Griffin! How could you abandon Griffin? Griffin's the best. The cult is spreading, corrupting once honorable Garu, feeding on their grief and despair. We need to stop Fenris for the good of the Garu nation. Yes. If we play our cards right, Elton says, this might be the beginning of the end for the cult of Fenris, at least in the valley. But I don't like this new complication, this Alexios. We need to find the cult's moot site and figure out what's going on. St. Homunculus is on first, which Nin hates, but that's good for you since you'll be able to wrap up the show early and look for the moot site. It's the 4th of July show, so you actually want to get out of there early. The cult of Fenris may have deliberately tried to burn down a show last year, but you expect that college kids with fireworks are more dangerous than Fenris worshippers with a deliberate plan of arson. Trevor picks up Nin in his cube just after dinner so they can practice. A few hours later, you and Podge hop in the truck and pick Melody and Elton up in the middle of town. You're all helpless prisoners of the Arun as he launches obscure left beef criticisms at the anarchists who run Hogthrone. He won't even let you turn on the radio. You've scouted this area before, but never been to a show here. Apparently, the Children's Museum lets Hogthrone do its messy thing in a disused annex as long as they don't trash the place. Since this is one of Hogthrone's all-ages shows, management usually keeps things pretty clean, and they now have a good relationship with the museum. You pass a familiar landscape between Hampshire College and a permanent farmer's market near an apple orchard and a solar field. The latter, you notice, has suffered recent fire damage. The land got sold, Podge says. It's not clear who owns it, and it's tied up in court. The new owners want to clear the field and build luxury housing. The sun is still up, and the crowds are hanging around outside as Podge parks, and you pretend to hand $20 to Roscoe's friend who works the door. Sorry about Roscoe, the old guy says. Melody nods as she steps inside. You follow the Philodox as St. Homunculus starts their sound check, and the crowds surge to get inside. Boom! Chapter 9, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Oh, that's great. It makes no difference what men think of war, said the judge. War endures. As well ask men what they think of stone. Shouldn't that be might as well ask men what they think of stone? War was always here. Before man was, war waited for him. The ultimate trade awaiting its ultimate practitioner. Cormac McCarthy, Blood Meridian, or The Evening Redness in the West. All right. So we're on chapter 9, and that's where I'm going to stop for today, and also for until we get through Werewolf the Apocalypse Purgatory, which will be starting next week, which I'm super excited for. I keep mentioning it because I'm so excited for it. Because if you were here for the demo, when I played the demo, I decided I had the option to play a Glasswalker Theurge, and I absolutely took that option because I love the idea of an urban Theurge so much. I love the idea of urban werewolves in general so much. But thank you everyone so much for joining me through this hugely long adventure this is taking, and we're still not done with it. I promise I will come back to it. As long as World of Darkness lets me stream, I will come back to it. And I hope everyone has an amazing weekend, and I will see you all next week. I'm so excited. Thank you, everybody.